The conversation is over. Everyone went home. Nobody's talking anymore. But somehow, you're still there. Maybe you're lying in bed now. Maybe you're driving home. Maybe you're trying to watch something, make dinner, or just enjoy a quiet evening. And then your mind brings it back. Something they said. Something you said. The look on their face. That little pause before they answered. And suddenly, you're having the conversation again. Only this time, it isn't happening between two people. It's happening entirely inside you. Why did I say that? What did they mean by that? Did I make things awkward? Maybe I should have explained myself better. I should have said, and there it is, the perfect response. 3 hours too late. If you do this when you have conversations sometimes follow you home long after everyone else seems to have moved on, stay here with me for a little while. Because I don't think you're replaying these moments because you enjoy thinking about them. I think some part of you believes the conversation still isn't finished. Maybe that's difficult to notice when you're inside it. Because replaying feels useful at first. It feels like you're figuring something out. So you go back. You listen to their words again. You examine your response. You change your tone. You imagine what they might have been thinking. And somewhere inside all of that is a quiet hope. Maybe if I go through this one more time, I'll finally understand. Maybe you'll figure out whether they were upset. Maybe you'll understand why their voice changed. Maybe you'll decide whether you said the wrong thing. Maybe you'll find the response you should have given. Maybe you'll finally know what they think of you, so you replay it. And sometimes, you do learn something. Maybe you realize you were impatient. Maybe there's an apology you want to make. Maybe you recognize something you want to handle differently next time. That's reflection. And reflection can help us grow. But you probably know the moment when reflection becomes something else. Because eventually, there's nothing new. You're just walking through the same room again, looking under the same furniture, opening the same drawers, searching for something that might not even be there. And every time you return, you become a little less certain about what actually happened. That's the strange thing. You started replaying the conversation because you wanted clarity. But after the 10th replay, you may have less clarity than you had after the first. Did they actually sound annoyed? Or am I remembering it that way now? Was that pause really uncomfortable? Did I actually say it like that? Maybe I should have. And now your mind isn't remembering the conversation, it's editing it, adding possibilities, adding interpretations, adding things the other person might have been thinking. And before long, you're carrying not only what actually happened, but everything that could have happened. That's a lot of weight to carry from one conversation, especially when the other person may not be thinking about it at all. And I want to be careful here, because I don't want to tell you, just stop thinking about it. If it were that easy, you probably would have done that already. And I don't think your mind is trying to make your life harder. Maybe it's trying to protect you. Maybe somewhere along the way, you learned that understanding every detail could keep you safe. If you could figure out what someone really meant, you wouldn't be caught off guard. If you could identify what you said wrong, you wouldn't make the same mistake again. If you could know what they thought about you, you could decide what to do next. So your mind keeps searching. Not because it's broken, because it wants an answer. It wants certainty. It wants the relief of finally being able to say, okay, now I understand. Now I can let this go. And maybe that's why some conversations stay with us for so long. We're waiting for the replay that finally makes everything feel settled. But there are some conversations that will never give us that. Maybe you'll never know exactly what they meant. Maybe you'll never know whether that pause meant something. Maybe you'll never know what they thought about you afterward. Maybe you could replay the conversation 100 more times and still never arrive at certainty. That's uncomfortable. I know. Especially when your mind has convinced you that peace is waiting on the other side of one more answer. But maybe peace isn't there. Maybe peace begins when you stop requiring the past to explain itself before you're allowed to move forward. There's a simple Stoic distinction that can help here, not because it makes the uncertainty disappear, but because it helps us see what we're actually responsible for carrying. Ask yourself, is there something here that still belongs to me? Maybe you owe someone an apology. That belongs to you. Maybe something needs to be clarified. That belongs to you. Maybe you learned something about how you'd like to speak or act differently next time. That belongs to you too. Do what belongs to you. But then notice everything else. What they secretly meant. What they're thinking now. Whether they misunderstood you. Whether they approve of you. The conversation you wish you'd had instead. You can think about those things all night, and still never control them. And maybe you've been carrying some of them as though you were supposed to. So if there's a conversation you've been replaying today, can we sit with it differently for just a moment? You don't need to go through the whole thing again. You've probably done that enough. Just ask, is there anything left for me to do? If there is, you can do it. Maybe not this second. But you know what belongs to you now, and if there isn't, then perhaps the conversation doesn't need another replay. Maybe it needs an ending. Not the perfect ending you wish you'd had, just an ending you give yourself. Something as simple as, I've taken what I can from this. I don't know everything they thought. I don't know what every moment meant. And I don't need to. This conversation is allowed to be over. You don't have to believe those words perfectly. Your mind might bring the conversation back 5 minutes later. That's okay. You haven't failed. You don't need to fight with it. You can notice what's happening. I'm back there again. And gently remind yourself, there's nothing new for me to find, then come back. To this room. To this evening. To the person sitting beside you. To whatever is actually happening in your life right now. Because your life is happening here. Not in that conversation from Tuesday. Not in the sentence you wish you changed. Not in someone else's expression that you've analyzed 20 different ways. Here. Now. And I wonder how many quiet evenings you've lost trying to finish conversations that were already over. Not because there was something wrong with you. Because you wanted peace. You just kept looking for it inside the conversation. Maybe tonight, we can look somewhere else. Maybe peace doesn't come from finally understanding every word. Maybe it comes from knowing you've understood enough. You can take the lesson without taking the punishment. You can care without endlessly analyzing. You can wish you'd done something differently without living there. And you can leave a conversation, even when your mind hasn't answered every question about it. That's not avoidance. Sometimes, that's acceptance. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me today. I know life doesn't suddenly become easy when this conversation ends, but I hope you're leaving with one less thing on your shoulders than when you arrived. And maybe today, it's a conversation that ended a long time before your mind allowed it to. You don't have to solve every moment before you're allowed to leave it behind. Whenever your mind starts feeling heavy again, come back. We'll sit together for a little while. Until then, take care of yourself.